Good morning and happy Art Day. I hope you're doing good. I am, and I'm painting today. This is a character sheet, a character picture of one of the characters I'm playing in DSA, which is a role-playing game. It's called Das Schwarze Auge, hence DSA as an abbreviation, and it literally means the black eye. So I've been telling in the vlogs that I've been playing that with Sebastian's family, and this is the character that I'm playing in a second campaign that we're gonna start Wednesday, so 2 days after this comes out. I'm gonna take Gelia, that's my character, hence, or that is, well, what the video is also named. I'm gonna take her to the table and we're gonna play. So I'm playing a dwarf this time round, and you're gonna see that later in the video. I'm having a notebook to take with me during those campaigns where I just, write down what's happening on whatever part on the quest, because we're not playing every week, so remembering and not getting confused with the other campaign that I'm playing is very important to me. And I wanted to, snazz up my notebook a little bit, so I thought I could paint my character. Also, while I built my character, I did actually have a little bit of a picture in my mind already, so why not paint it? So I did sketch it with a yellow graphite pencil onto my paper here, and then I started with Inktense pencils, coloring certain bits and pieces, liquefying the pigment that I had put down with water. And I have to pause in between for a couple of seconds whenever I color an adjacent field. Like, for example, I started with the skin, now I'm going to the face, and I don't want any of the pigment to move that is not supposed to be there. There is a little bit on the face here. I caught a bit of the dark brown that I used on the hair, and it transferred to the skin, which in this case is okay for me because she's just a dirty little dwarf digging in earth for some herbs and such, so she's not gonna be the cleanest lady. But for other characters, I don't want to have that, and I have to remember to, be patient and wait a couple of seconds longer, or just color a different part of the picture before I get back to an adjacent part to color. So I'm looking at all of my colors and deciding what I want to use for her, what color scheme I want to give her, and I decided to go quote-unquote earthy. So she's gonna have a lot of browns, a lot of greens, not a lot of gray for her armor. I'm actually wearing leather armor, so I'm going to go with brown shades for that, and only have a tiny little bit of silver on the belt buckle and such, and on the colander, of course. So I'm staying quite greenish, brownish in this particular picture. And while I start coloring her cloak here and choosing a darker green for that, to not lose contrast while I paint, before I can go in with maybe a little more of a shadow. I like to base coat things first. Let me tell you that, what did I want to say now? Oh shoot, I forgot my train of thought. Oh gosh. I can't remember. I'm sorry, guys. Oh yeah, it just came to me. I did speed up this video because it took a while to paint, and with these ones, I don't know how long it will take me to paint them, so I don't record the audio while I'm painting. Hence, these are the videos where I do have a little bit of a time lapse going on. But if you want to know how long that painting actually took me and all the colors that I used, you can hop on over to my blog post. It's on my website. The link is in the description box below. It's pinselgeschichten.de. You just enter the name of the video into the search field and you will be directed to the blog post where you can read up on things like dimensions of the picture, working time, all the materials I used, and you can read up on that just in case you like something that you see. So maybe a color combination, or you are wondering how or what I used to, well, put the character picture into my notebook later on. It's just all there, you know? So, like I said, I went with a lot of greens, and I do like the yellow greens a little more in comparison to bluish greens. Excuse me. Hence, I went for the yellowish green for her shirt, and went for a little more of a bluish green for the inside of the cloak, because this is where the shadow is and this is where the very darks are. So she's looking grumpy right now on this picture, and actually I didn't intend that, but I kind of liked it, so I kept her grumpy, because she is on the quest with a couple of weird characters, and well, she's maybe a little annoyed by having to heal them all the time, so I guess she's gonna be a little more of a grumpy dwarf there. Excuse me. So I'm just going around the painting bit by bit, just liquefying all the pigment that I had put down. I really liked the Inktense pencils for this particular kind of picture, and heads up, there's a couple more coming up on the next 2 art days, because I already filmed 2 more character pieces for the DSA campaigns. And I used the Inktense on all of them. I really liked the grainy look that you get with the Inktense on watercolor paper, especially if you're working with the Inktense pencils and not with the blocks and have the pigment liquefied on a palette before you put it to the paper. I really like that style for the character sheets, the character pictures. So I didn't have that in mind when I chose my supplies. It was more like, okay, I can control the pencils better than the blocks. They're already on my desk from another project anyway, so I'm just gonna go with them. I didn't want to go with watercolors because the painting is rather tiny, and I didn't feel like coloring with watercolors in a constrained way. I like the loose flow of watercolors, so I thought I'm not gonna be having a lot of fun just dabbing a tiny little blob here and a tiny little blob there. So that's why I actually went with the Inktense, and I really like how they turned out on that particular quite fibery watercolor paper. So yay, that was a nice happening. Something I hadn't planned, but something I enjoyed a lot. So she's growing bit by bit by bit. And another thing with the Inktense is you can be rather loose with the way you put in your colors. You don't have to be as particular as you would be, say, with colored pencils. Because you can smudge and move the pigment a lot, and you can get rid of those pencil strokes quite easily. And that makes it a little quicker when it comes to coloring. And with the possibility to put down your shadows right away, so like a base color and a shading color, you can pretty much have one part or one object colored all in one go. And it's, well, at least shaded enough for me. If you have a bigger picture, like maybe 30 by 40 centimeters, I would recommend maybe having a layer of watercolor underneath and then just go on top with Inktense. If you just want to work with Inktense pencils, you probably need to work a little more diligent in the way you put down your shadows. So maybe just go with a base layer first, let it dry, then shade with maybe 2 or 3 colors, then let it dry again and see if you need even more pigment to put down, depending on the style that you're working in, of course. But with these tiny pictures here, it's just 2 colors per part of the object or subject in this case, and I'm good. So I really like that as a quick, quote unquote quick way of painting something, have it shaded and work rather loose in the way that I put down the pencil, and constrained and when it comes to the way I work with my brush. So that is something that I'm very fond of when it comes to Inktense, and that's what I use it for a lot. So not only the coloring books, but there it is kind of like the same principle. The lines are, well, usually maybe a little more fiddly and tiny, and there's a lot of detail on a rather small page, and you can get in there and get that done. Oh, that's my roommate showing me his dinner that he cooked all by himself. But getting back to the picture, that is what I like about Inktense. They're very loose to put down, but you can be very constrained when it comes to liquefying the pigment. You can control them very well. It's a little different with the blocks, but not too much. And I think it depends on the size of the picture that you're working on, it being a coloring book or artwork of your own. I think there is no difference there. But yeah, do I prefer the blocks or the pencils? It really depends. Sometimes I say I prefer the blocks, sometimes I say I prefer the pencils. I guess it really comes down to what kind of artwork am I working on, especially what is the size of the artwork. So that's, yeah, I guess that's the major factor. So she is all colored in with the first layer. Now it's just getting on to detailed shading a bit here and there, putting down a second layer of color wherever I think I need it. So getting back to her face probably in a second, if I remember correctly, because I painted this 3 days ago. Yeah, today is Sunday, so tomorrow, after I've recorded the voiceover, tomorrow you're gonna see this video. So I worked on it Thursday, that's 3 days. So I painted 2 other pieces, and I don't want to mix things up in my memory, like what did I do with what character and what did I do when. So yeah, I'm just adding her ground to stand on because I don't want her to float. And since she's an apothecary and very versed in herbs, I thought, let's give her something green to stand on. It fits great with the clothes, so with her shirt and her cloak and such. So once this was dry, I went in with Polychromos pencils and just shaded a tiny little bit of certain things where I wanted to have a little more of contrast, and that was particularly her hair, just adding a little bit of a dark brown and a little bit of indigo on the clothes. You know me, I love indigo for shading, so did that, but also went with the dark sepia for all of the brown parts. A little bit of I think that is called Naples yellow, I don't remember. I just look at the numbers of the pencils, not the names so much. So it's something, either a yellow ochre, a light ochre, or a Naples yellow, something like that. I'm just going around adding some lines, like outlines almost, to some of the parts, just to enhance contrast and make it look finished. The good thing about this paper is it is very fibery. The bad thing is it is very fibery, so it is quite difficult to get a straight, crisp line done on this kind of paper. So that's why I'm going around with my pencils too and add just a crisp line on the parts where the frizzy look was a little too much for me. Also adding wood grain onto my shield. Just, a couple of details, make her a little more done. It's the tiny details that make the difference between a great painting and an awesome painting, I think. It's just those little tiny extras. And then I went in with my black permanent marker, added the outlines for the eyes, also colored in her irises. This is all very tiny, so it was almost impossible for me to do so with Inktense, but I think it's fine to switch to another medium and use it to get what you want as a look. I moved on to gel pens, added the silver parts on her belt, just a few outlines, just here and there, and also some hair bands on her words. In German it's called Zöpfe. What is the English word that I'm currently missing? I don't remember. Well, and I'm getting to other parts of the painting. Also put in some white gel pen for the reflection in her eyes. Went over the braids. Ha! That is the word. Yes, I remembered about. I went over her braids with the black marker again, just putting in zigzag lines to indicate that they are braids. Oh gosh, words are sometimes really hard, guys. Especially when you're drinking your first cup of tea in the morning and you just got up and you're already recording a voiceover. Maybe I should have waited for another half an hour to get my brain up to working temperature. But well, I didn't. So, we gotta work with that right now. I added some black lines left and right of the silver and gold gel pens, just to again increase contrast and add definition and detail to my character sheet. And I think that's, oh yeah, I had to sign it, of course, because that's what you do. And then I did take the paper of my pad, cut it down to the size of the notebook, because I wanted her to sit on the cover, like the inside part of the cover of my losing my voice, of my notebook, and I just marked where I wanted to cut it. Did so with my paper trimmer. I, cut half of my signature off, but since this is just the book I use in private, totally fine with me. Maybe I should have cut it first and then signed it, but that's okay with me. So I used white craft glue to glue her down. I could have gone with something like a paper glue, like a dry one, or maybe a double-sided tape, but I did go with the wet glue because the watercolor paper, though being very thick and very heavy, has the ability to pull double-sided tape from my book, or rip it through the paper and just curl a little bit later on, because it is very fibery and it kind of wants to curl a couple of days later if you don't have it in a frame or really securely glued down. So that's why I went with the white craft glue. It's a lot stronger, and the paper is thick enough so that I don't have any weird lines coming through. Then I used one of my very old stencils. I don't even remember where I got this from, to have a little bit of a ornament border drawn in, because this is pretty much the front page. This is where the book title will be. And I started to draw in those ornaments with the yellow pencil that I used to draw my character. But it didn't work well on that particular kind of paper, so I switched to a normal graphite pencil to color them. And then there was a little spider, and then it was a and then it was a dead spider, because no animals on my work desk. So where was I? Oh yeah, I used the a graphite pencil to draw these ornament lines. I wanted to go kind of medievally, and yes, that's a word, because the scenario or the campaign that we are playing is set in a time that is close to what we in real life know as the Middle Ages, so medieval times, and I wanted to have that style showing up in the way that I put in the way that I designed my front page. You will see with, of course, the materials I used, they're screaming 21st century, especially the leather stickers later on. But in the grand scheme of things, the feel that this page might give to the viewer, I wanted to have them be reminded of something that we know from the Middle Ages or early Renaissance time, maybe. Just, well, way past gosh, I can't talk. Well, way back into the past. Whew, I wanted to give that kind of a feeling to anybody who looks at that page. And that what's going on? Why can I not talk? This is getting annoying, and I have 2 more videos to voice over in a minute. Gosh, this is bad. Primarily, there it is. That will be me who's looking at the page, so I want to be put into that world mentally, and I want to, just have a visual aid to get from the 21st century way very back in time and into a fantasy world. Next up, I chose my letter stencil, and I really like this one, especially the lowercase characters. I really like those, and I'm going to use them on this particular part of the video, and I thought I had cut that section, but no, because at that point I actually was on the loo. I had to have a break, and I forgot to cut that footage. But well, you can look at that lovely stencil now. And at the letter stickers that are to the right, I got them in one edition of the Flow magazine. I don't know which one it was, but I really like them. They're a godsend. I work with them a lot. I really enjoy those tiny stickers. But I wanted to write down my name, so Gelia, with the letter stencils, because I really like the font of the lower cases. And since I'm sometimes having a lot of trouble with handwriting, so anything that you would maybe know from brush lettering, this is not for me, because a lot of times, and also in this case here when I recorded that video, I recorded it quite late at night. I'm having a few tremors in my hand. I have trouble controlling my hand, giving it a lovely flow. And I'm talking about my right hand, because though I am drawing and coloring and so many other things with my left hand, I do primarily write with my right hand. I can write with my left hand. I'm ambidextrous. But having painted that much, and I painted other things before I recorded that video on that day, I do have trouble with my left hand as well, getting the flow and having my hand be very relaxed and controllable. That's not happening for me. So I could have used brush lettering, totally. But in this case, my MS says no. And that happens most of the days. So the movement when you brush letter is just a thing that is very difficult for me. So I tend to not do brush lettering for these kinds of journals and such, but I tend to go with stencils or stamps, just to have a lovely handwriting there, but not fighting against my hand and then probably ruining a piece along the way. Anyways, I just colored the letters with another brush pit pen, and then outlined it with a black Copic marker. And now I'm going to the German, because I'm putting down the word Reisetagebuch, which means travel journal. And I went with the German word for this, because I just wanted a 3-line page, if you know what I mean. I do like odd numbers, so would I have put the whole word in 1 line, it would just be 2 lines, and I didn't really like that. So I went with 3 lines. I went with the German word because it's just way longer. And I'm just putting down the stickers, and after that I think I did take my gold Wink of Stella, just put a couple of dots on the page, and then I'm done. So this is the preparation of my notebook for the DSA campaign that will start on Wednesday. And I'm looking forward to playing. We're gonna play with 2, 4, 6 people. So 5 characters, 1 game master, and we're all very much looking forward to it. And I thank you for watching, and I'm gonna see you in 2 weeks with another character. Bye.